Welcome to The Current Potential, the podcast where healing, aligned living, and intention meet the deeper current of who we are. I'm your host, Melissa Curtin. Here we explore holistic health, mind, body, heart wisdom, empowering stories, and what's current in natural healing, all to help you reconnect with your own inner current and potential. Welcome to this episode of The Current Potential. I'm your host, Melissa Curtin. For this episode, it is my absolute pleasure to be here with my guest, Sarah Christine. She's a visionary songstress and voice alchemist. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here with you, Melissa. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners, Sarah Christine and I knew one another on an island in the Puget Sound, and I have experienced Sarah Christine's musical talents and her inspiring lyrics and soulful expression in person, and it was always such a moving experience. Today, I'd love to explore the connection between sound, music, our voice, and healing. So before we glide into this topic, can you share how your musical journey began, how young you were when you discovered your natural gifts and musical talents?
Thank you. Yeah, I love that question. Yeah, for me, it really happened early. One of my earliest memories, is about 4 years old. And I remember my brother was kind of being a bully and I was crying and really unhappy. And I've started kind of like turning my cry into like a little bit of a sing-songy expression. And I remember it so clearly as like, I had a moment where I was like, oh, this is something, like there's something happening here. And it completely changed the way I felt, number one. And it gave me kind of like a feeling of, oh, I can choose something different here. And wow, my voice, like this is kind of fun. And so that was really an early memory. And that definitely continued through my childhood where I just, I found that I could mimic artists on the radio or people that I heard at church. And so I had a realization pretty early on that the gift of voice was something within me and was very, very sacred and special and also brought me a lot of joy. So yeah, I was raised in the church and I didn't particularly care for church, but I loved the music. I loved that part of using music and singing as a way to just feel peace, feel a connection with a higher power. And so, yeah, that kind of was my journey through childhood, a lot of exposure in that way. And I was blessed with parents that really helped nurture my gift. And so was voice lessons at an early age and all the choirs, jazz choir, show choir, musical theater, Yeah. So that kind of took me into my teens, actually kind of late teens, early 20s, where I was like, I had a lot of experience singing other people's music and was at a place in my life where I was like, I have something to say. So I started writing poetry and writing songs, turning that poetry into songs, and taught myself how to play guitar and piano. And yeah, it was really important that I started to use my voice as a way to express what was inside me, not just, other people's music. So I'll pause.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, having a bully brother, I guess, is not kind of the antagonist too, and the catalyst for you to discover and tap into what your gifts were. Kind of, not such a positive way to learn that, but at least that is part of the shaping of who you are, right?
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it helps me at such a young age even realize that power is in me. And like I had a choice how I could respond to a situation. And that's something that I use now, in my work and teaching others is like, we are at choice, and these voices and what we do with them, whether it's singing or just like self-soothing and humming and toning, like we can really shift our experience and take ownership of our experience through the simple act of using our sound. And it's really exciting.
Absolutely. So with all of your early tapping into your gifts, and then you said you worked on, developing poetry and creating that, did you have formal training or education in this area at some point?
Yeah, I did. I started taking voice lessons one-on-one at about age 13 up until age 18. And then I have a whole chapter of life where I became a mom, a young mom, and raised children and did that whole beautiful journey. And then I even went back to school at age 30, and I went to college, music college in Seattle. And that was so much fun, like to be immersed as an adult in school, because school was never really like, they really resonate with school, the confines of the walls and just schedules. But going back as an adult and having the hunger and the desire to really like learn everything I could was really cool. So yeah, that was a really, really awesome experience.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like your journey, like the river, kind of through the rocks and over the hills and around. And
Yep.
but like I said, all of that has shaped you, and our journeys shape us. And we have a choice throughout it, right, to pick the path that resonates the most at the time.
Yeah.
There's a multitude of healing modalities, and you and I have had conversations, right? You know, many are expensive. They're out of range for most people. However, sound, music, voice, along with other primal, primitive, and free options like grounding with your feet on the earth and being in the sun and nature, deep breathing, spending time with animals, using your voice and tapping into your own sounds feels like the easiest access to one's essence and their innate healing abilities. Can you elaborate more on the power of our voice as a primary healer?
Yeah. Oh, I love how you set that up. Yeah. Well, I would say, first and foremost, our voice is our birthright, and it's as unique as our fingerprint. And, that is something that is so sacred and divine that we each have as these voices. And, when we use our sound and we create the vibrations in our body with our breath and the intention of, what we want to say or what we want to sing through us, like it is incredibly healing. It's stimulating and activating to the vagus nerve. It helps to, soothe our nervous system. Making sound, singing, toning, humming, creating sound with our own breath can create new neural pathways in the brain, in addition to the incredible ability that it has to soothe our nervous system and to, anchor us into the present moment. Singing, toning, even speaking in an intentional way with intentional words, like it takes us out of the mind, out of the like chitter chatter, programming, conditioning of the mind that we've all picked up just because that's just how things are. We're susceptible to programming. But the sounding brings us out of the mind, out of the chitter chatter, and more into the body, the wisdom of the body, into the heart space, into the present moment, the now. And so it's like, reclaiming our birthright can be, with our voices, could be as simple as just like dropping in and saying, thank you, saying, I'm so blessed, saying, I need some help, whatever, like taking ownership for what we allow to come out of our mouth is also a big form. I would even go as far as to say it's activism, when we're conscious of what we are allowing to come through us with our precious life force energy of breath and intention and attention, like we can really be activists and advocates for our own life and our experience.
Absolutely. I read somewhere that the humming or chanting and like whistling or, everything along that line interrupts that monkey mind chatter and that hamster wheel mind. And you had touched on it a little bit. And what this reminds me is of the non-performance based expression around healing. And often I feel like healing and health can become overcomplicated, and we overthink like all these symptoms and diagnoses and dis-ease in the body. But at the very simplest form for healing, we have our own breath, our own healing. And I loved how you touched on the vagus nerve. I would love to dive more into that and how breath and the humming has a lot of benefits for nervous system regulation, self-soothing, and for grounding. Can you expand a little bit?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'm still learning, and there's so much more studies coming out about the vagus nerve. But the fact is, like, even the location that it comes down on either side of our neck, or from the base of our skull, and it comes down on both sides of our neck, and comes down and travels all the way down through our chest, through all of our organs. And I mean, it's the vagus nerve, also known as the great nerve, because it encompasses so much space within our body, and it touches on so much that when we tone, when we hum, when we kind of activate it through our own, like the simplicity of just being like, like we all hum all the time. Like it's kind of just built in. Like we just all do it, whether we realize it or not. We're always kind of making sounds. But that activates, like it can, my understanding, again, I'm trying to study this deeper, but that it heals where we need it. It like will activate in the places, like if we're having like tension in our lower back, for example, and we're like humming and toning with the intention of like, bring me relief, please. Like, let me just feel relaxed. That the vagus nerve can like kind of, for lack of a better explanation, like I don't even have an explanation exactly how it works, but like it activates, it vibrates, it can work its magic and its medicine. And I think too, this is important to say, and we've talked on this a little bit, is that we are made up of so much water, right? And so when we sing and tone and we make sound in our body, we activate, we like get that water moving and we create vibrations. And it's really as simple as like healing vibrations moving and reverberating in our body temple. I guess it could be perceived as maybe a little bit woo-woo, but I really do believe that the body, like we are so much wiser than we know and give ourselves credit for sometimes. And our bodies are incredibly receptive and want to be operating at the optimal vibration and at the optimal capacity. And when we can kind of work in tandem with the body's wisdom, miracles are possible. I truly believe through, the power intention,
yes,
the power of vibration, and water. Like water is life, and we are filled with that water.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about the way that the water responds not only to the vibration, the physical vibration, but the water responds to energy and our thoughts. Like that's mind-blowing to me, and there is actual science to prove this.
Absolutely. Well, it reminds me of, everything that we're speaking about. I had led intention groups on the island where we lived, but all of this points to being aligned and within ourselves, source, light, our breath, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We are 70, 80% water. Our breath has its own frequency and is quite the healer. We're constantly co-creating our lives using sound frequency just by the words that we're speaking. Words, affirmations, like you said, what you're listening to, what you say to yourself, those are all powerful narratives.
Indeed.
And I was going to say that it reminds me of Masaru Emoto's work, who did the scientific experiments and the observations with the frozen water crystals. There's lots of research to show that the words that we say, and the body responds to that. If we are 70, 80% water, and water can have memory and be frozen in time and imprinted with messages that we speak, so can we.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with plants, right? I mean, plants that are spoken to, and might sound woo-woo for some people, but there's actual science behind all of this, right? Absolutely. So it resonates with me for a healing potential, how our words and intention and the frequency affects us. And getting back to the music part, like your music lyrics are quite intentional, very purposeful, a living example of the frequency to carry these messages through sound, empowering positive messages are just woven through your work. I did want to return to the idea that you had about reclaiming who we are through this expression. It's our birthright. You touched on that before, but I didn't want to get that concept lost through this conversation. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah. So what drives my work, a big part of what drives my work, is to reclaim our power and to come back home to the truth of who we are and to the truth of our soul. And we live in a culture that tells us the opposite, that doesn't want us to know our power, that doesn't want us to know the simple tools that are available to us to sing and tone for healing, or to, tap into the power of breath or visualization for healing. And, that doesn't work with a system that wants us to be dependent on them for everything, or to be customers for life in a really, really broken system. And so, part of the vocal reclamation is about taking ownership of your life and recognizing, our divinity, and that we come here as, pure souls that we all have gifts to share. And we all have, the way that I look at it, and my feeling is that we all, each and every one of us, comes into this life with gifts to share that the world needs. And I kind of want to rewrite this whole story that like singers are like only people with talent should sing, and that's just such BS. It's like reclaiming our birthright to make sound and to be co-creators of our experience. And so I was going on a little bit of a tangent there, but it's about being an activist for your own life, knowing your connection to the earth, to source, to nature. Like we are divine, and we are here to be in service to the healing. And I truly believe that we can, if we choose that and we choose to share our lives in that way.
Yeah. And, a very primal expression, like you said at the beginning of this, is joy. I mean, we need more joy in the world, don't we? We need joy. We need to sprinkle joy everywhere. And I feel, we took in a stray cat and her kittens over the last couple of months. And I find myself, when I'm around these cute little ones running around, we've rehomed a few. We have 2 left, but I'm humming and I'm singing to them, and I'm like, I'm just being playful because I'm mimicking, kind of reflecting back their energy. It makes me feel childish and joyful. And what's my default there in that space with them is to come up with these little dorky little songs for these 2 that are just running around. I mean, one was like going sideways on the bed, and my husband said, "Oh, he's defying gravity." And then we had a good chuckle about how we should name him Newton, and it was just really, it was fun and playful and upbeat and light, and it takes some kittens, these helpless kittens that my daughter found in an AC, vent for the house that's for sale across the way. And they're just so sweet, and they respond to that.
Yeah.
They understand, beings understand sound. And maybe they don't perceive it as healing and vibration and all the, the terms.
But they pick up on the energy of it. They can pick up on the energy of it. And that's really powerful. Yeah. And I think it's really important to highlight when you just touched on joy, because that is our natural state, and that childlike expression and wonder, and also the authenticity of just being in your pleasure and in your joy, and like acting silly and not self-censoring or self-abandoning or editing or being like, oh gosh, I shouldn't, oh, I'm too loud, especially as women. I mean, we could talk so much about the conditioning that like, oh, you're too loud and nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And you're not, just quiet. You're, just look pretty, look nice, but don't ruffle any feathers, just
in the bar. And God forbid you laugh loud or have like, a boisterous laugh. Yes. I mean, and that, what happens when people laugh like that, you giggle. It's fun. It's funny. It's joyful. I mean, so even society, generally speaking, wants to keep everybody kind of buttoned up and behave and sit and, right.
So what do we do to ourselves if we're like participating in that and we find ourselves, busting out laughing, and then we're like, oh, whoop, we kind of like shut down, like, oops, is that okay? It's like we're giving that message to ourselves that like, ooh, like tone it down, and I just, I just want to just throw the lid off of that and be like, no, that is just programming to keep us small, to keep us not in touch with our power. And because when we're not in touch with our power, then we become really good little sheep and we just do what we're told and we follow the path that's already been, laid out for us. And for some people that works, but are they happy? I don't know. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I could I got a glimpse into that at a young age. And I was just like, no, that's not for me. Like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna make my own path. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, to be that self-aware at such a young age, to know that you have a gift that brought you joy, that helped bring out your authentic self, is quite incredible. I mean, some people find their gifts later on, but I'm a firm believer in, children. I ask people when I, connect, whether they're a client or a friend, it's like, what did you do when you were a child that you enjoyed doing, that you would just do and lose yourself in and not get paid? I mean, what did you do? Like, what were your hobbies? And you see people, they light up, they get joyful.
Yes.
And, and I love that. And so in terms of expression, this is like you said, everyone's birthright to express themselves, whether it's vocally or through creative expression with song. So Sarah, Christine, what for you brings you the most joy, and like of your musical abilities and talents and writing songs and being creative, where do you feel like you're emanating your most authentic self and the most joyful?
Oh, so many things, actually. I mean, I love singing to other people's hearts. I love sitting in space with others, whether it's just like a small group or, from a stage. I love sharing my love for life and for the blessing, this experience through song and through, when I catch a song, when a song comes through to me, it just is so fun because it's like this being available to the magic and the mystery. And then, it comes into me usually exactly when I need it, the right message. And then I'm like, I can't wait to share that one. I want, you'll hear, and my music a little bit, but for the listeners, like, the messages and the music it's all about remembrance. It's like I sing to people's hearts to help them remember what is true for them, what is in there that sometimes we all need a little bit of reminding. So on that note, I'd love to share a song that is a new one that I wrote recently. Is this a good time?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this song is called Sing Your Soul Alive. Freedom is calling you home, calling you back to your soul. Reclaim that voice within. Just got to begin with a simple breath. I just want you to know you are so beautiful. You are a miracle. I just want you to know you are so powerful. You are a miracle. Yeah. So sing your soul alive. Sing your soul alive. No one can do what you came to do. There's only one you. Yes, it's true. You've got a gift that the world needs now. So find a way to give it somehow. You got the melody. You got the remedy. You got the medicine for somebody. You got the melody. You got the remedy. You got the medicine for somebody. So sing your soul alive. Yeah. Sing your soul alive. Oh, sing your soul alive. I just want you to know you are so beautiful. You are a miracle. It's true.
So beautiful. Yeah, so beautiful, so soulful. Thank you so much. That was such a treat. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I just drifted away there into some other dimension.
Well, good. That's the idea, you know? That's really what I feel like this music has the power to do is let us kind of drift away and out of what's known, out of what we can see and what we know from our experience, but the music and toning and singing, whether it's a song or just like, tapping into that vibration, it really does kind of let us drift away into the mystery, into the possibility, into a realm of like, ooh, what else is possible? And also to receive the guidance and wisdom that is here for us inside of our own bodies and in the field. Yeah, I really do believe that music can do that.
And for me, it feels like the shift between being in the head and embodying and bringing that down, down to the heart, down to the gut area, bringing it in, where you're not like the monkey mind, right? And the overactive thinking of everything.
Absolutely. In our second brain, or second and third brain, as I've heard it say, we have a brain with the one that we all know. We have the one, our brain that does an amazing job and at things that it's for. But then there's also the brain of the heart and the brain of the womb. And male or female, like the brain that's in our gut, and I don't say womb because I'm a woman, but that brain. And those are both also so incredibly important and can be, really guide us into sometimes like our brain is great for logistics and, certain elements and structures and systems and decision making. But, sometimes we really just need to get into the body. One of my favorite things to do when I'm like have a big decision to make or I can't figure something out in my brain, I'll go for a walk or I'll dance or I'll sing or I'll like move and I'll get in like embodied and know that, there's wisdom there, there's answers, there's guidance, there's information that I can tap into and I can trust because that's all part of me too. So yeah, it's really connecting all the brains and all the systems that we are, these amazing temples.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you're making me remember here that music is a perfect way to integrate. So for those of us like myself who I'm a recovering bobblehead where, I'm overthinking, running all those narratives, music is a really great way to lighten that brain load up, that cognitive function, and being premenopause, that executive function is like, I don't have the capacity like I used to. So music for me right now is really, really helpful because it is bringing me more down into the heart and bringing that into the system and lightening me up a bit, right? So I do want to talk about healing, of course, and of course there's music and voice and sound and tuning forks, singing bowls and bells and specific sound frequencies for healing illnesses and dis-ease in the body. Like with senior homes, I mean, even as simple as look at how important like Christmas carols are when people come into the senior homes, or the generational music to trigger the Alzheimer patients' memories and bring their memories back. And music, is helping. It's just showing compassion, bringing light to the aging population and the NICU units and the sick children. What is your experience in using voice, music, and sound to heal, other than playing and performing and healing through your work?
Oh, that's a great question. For me personally, or with my clients, are you asking?
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that I do want to speak to, and I won't say that this is necessarily healing, although I think it is healing, but I have I'm careful using that term of like, I help people heal, or because it's such a personal journey, and I love to help and support to create the field for that. But really the healing happens within each person. But something I do want to speak to, Melissa, just that's coming up as you ask that question. When I was young, when I was in my 20s, after I had my 3 children and had amazing childbirth experiences, natural birth, I became really passionate about working with other women in childbirth, because I really recognized the broken system and the misinformation about childbirth as, oh, it's an emergency and you have to go to the hospital, and we got to do all these interventions and etc. And so I was like, I had such incredible experiences that really did heal me through childbirth, and I was very vocal. I was singing and like channeling my whale. Seriously, like whale. I was like, I just felt ancient, and anyway, so that got me into working with other women in childbirth. And so I've been blessed to attend over 50 births. And, one of the things that I think has been incredibly powerful is to get these women in labor singing and toning and making sound that's not screaming, that's not fearful, that's not like, like clenching and tight, but more just like that primal, just like dropping in and like those deep tones and that wailing and that. And I've seen it happen where, women can completely shift their experience from like, oh my gosh, this is so scary, I don't know what's happening, to like, and like being tight and resisting, to completely being able to just open and release and have incredible natural births. And I've definitely seen it where the sound, getting women to make sound has, I would say, I would go as far to say that we've gotten out of, we were able to avoid the possible C-sections for at least 3 women, where baby was stuck there, the powers that be are like, we got to go this route, this is the only way, blah blah blah. And it was just like, let's just take a little bit more time and be really intentional, and using visualization along with the toning and that primal sound to really allow the body and the tissues and the water and everything to just like do what it knows how to do. And I would say that was pretty powerful, and that's work that I am really passionate about, and that's a whole nother episode we could talk about. But yeah, so that is one way that I could say, it's definitely seen it happen in action.
That's incredible. What advice do you have for those on a healing and health journey when it comes to using your voice, sound, and music? Any tips for us, for those of us who are non-singers?
Yeah. I would say, it's really can be as simple as just humming and carving out 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, even less if you only have less. I think we can all carve out 5 minutes a day if we really want to, but just taking in a breath, a nice deep breath, and really drawing it all the way down into the belly, really filling up the lungs to capacity, and then just humming, like without censoring what it's going to sound like, if it's right or not, allowing yourself to just and doing like a series of maybe 5 or 6 of those. So you're breathing in through the nose, filling up the body with life force energy, with breath, and giving yourself that gift of the sacred pause. So you're keeping your face soft, your jaw, your third eye, your neck, and just humming. And, and it can be as simple as just like one, just, or you can play with, I like to call it kind of massaging your range, which kind of sounds funny, but starting kind of from a higher place of just like seeing what is your natural voice? What's your natural high range? And just allowing it to be what it is, and coming out from a hum and just, and then going all the way down into your lowest spot, and then taking a breath and then doing it again, like from low to high. And just a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of that will activate your vagus nerve. That will activate the water in your body to just kind of, get those healing vibrations. And, our cellular body, it recharges. It's kind of like a zing, like a, So that is one just very simple tool that is so accessible anytime, anywhere. You don't need a soundtrack. You don't need,
Don't need auto tuning or any of that, right? Yes.
And I know for some people that I've worked with over the years, like even that, hearing our voices can be so like scary and like, oh my gosh, because we've been, some people have just like, we've just held it in so tightly, so afraid to be seen, to be heard, to make noise, to, we all have different reasons and traumas that lead to that. But yeah, you start to kind of get comfortable with that feeling of like the breath coming in and moving out, in and out, and that we can learn, we can just be present with what thoughts might come arise, or maybe a memory of, my gosh, no wonder I'm so tight, because that one person said nobody wants to hear you, and so I've been holding that in since I was 8, is just a possible scenario. And so yeah, reclaiming your sound and just beginning so gentle with a hum. And there's so many great resources. I mean, one big plus about technology these days is there's so many great resources on any streaming platform or YouTube, to just listen to like a relaxing backdrop and, allow yourself to just kind of be a little childlike with it, like, kind of just make sound. And
yeah.
There's lots of great resources too. If you wanted to go further, and classes and workshops and lots of stuff online now. And, another thing, and something that I love doing, and it's also so simple, is you can get a little singing bowl or something like just a chime or a bell, and just, let it like just ring the bell and listen to the natural reverberation and the vibration of that chime or that bell, and just hum with that, like lock in your voice with that instrument. And it's, simple, but like can be really, really effective and grounding and powerful.
Thank you so much, Sarah Christine. That was really helpful. I love the simplicity of using just humming and just something simple as attuning to a bowl or a bell. These are simple things for people that may not innately feel like they have a singer's voice, but we all have a voice, and the ways we can use it to express, even if it's just simple, breathing or a chant or like, an affirmation or just something, just to tap into that. Because a lot of people, I feel like they may not say what they really want to say, or their expression is blocked. And then of course that's related to what may emerge in the body. Maybe their thyroid is weak, or maybe, they're having like congestion or laryngitis. There's a lot of, I know with traditional Chinese medicine and certainly German New Medicine and some of these others that, Louise L. Hay, she talks about, things showing up.
Yeah.
In the body and how we can heal our body, but at a very primal level, I feel like people that have a lot of throat issues or sore throat, I mean, there's something to look there. I think our body's trying to get our attention.
Definitely. Can I add
Go ahead.
something to
Go
that?
ahead. Yeah, of course. Mhm.
Just on the heels of like simplicity, another practice that I find is really helpful, especially for someone that's not accustomed to expressing themselves with their voice, or is maybe had some blockage or trauma. This is a really simple exercise where we just bring the breath, I like to say receive the breath in through the nose, a nice long, and as you're receiving that breath, you're thinking and feeling gratitude. So you're thinking, thank you. So, receiving that breath, thinking thank you. And then on the exhale, just choose one word. So thank you, light. And then doing it again, inhaling, thinking the words thank you, receiving the breath, exhaling, thank you, health. And, you can do like 5 or 10 of those. And so it's kind of twofold, because power of gratitude is amazing. It's so healing. It can completely shift our mindset, and we can get stuck, and it just really opens the heart and makes us more available to love, to healing to occur. And then the second thing is like we're giving our word sound, the power of word sound. And we can practice as we continue doing it to kind of elongate that the exhale, the breath, the out breath. So we're saying, maybe the first couple times it's like, thank you, love. And maybe we keep doing it and it's like, thank you, love. And you just kind of let it elongate and naturally. And that's really kind of what singing is. It's just making longer vowel sounds and making, elongating that exhale. And so it can just be a really sweet practice in gratitude, and also getting used to hearing the sound of our own voices, letting it, resonate in the chest, letting it vibrate the throat chakra. And yeah, so that's another one that I just feel like it could be helpful for anyone out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share what you offer and why you do this work.
Well, I offer the work that I do because it's why I'm here. I'm here to help uplift and heal humanity. And my modality is through voice and through music. And I've seen it change lives, including my own. And I just am so passionate about us all being the highest, brightest versions of ourselves that we can be, and to be in service to humanity with our gifts. So I love helping people tap into the power of voice. And I do work a lot with women, but I work with both. I definitely work with the men as well. And we all need it. We all need this help and support and sacred witness of being seen and heard and feeling safe, that like what we say and our authentic voice is valuable. Like we all want that. It's kind of our natural yearning, is to want to be heard, to feel like we belong, to feel like we are valuable in what we say and our ideas and our contributions. So that's the why. And the different ways that I work with people, I do one-on-one coaching. I do that via Zoom, or I do like online. And I love doing in-person, one-on-one, as well as workshops. And I also do retreats, which I love because then I can get to really have a deep immersion for an extended period of time. Like 5 to 7 days is usually the length of the retreats. And the immersion into a retreat, just kind of everything else is taken care of, like the food, it's all about being nourished on the deepest levels. So like high vibe food and beautiful environments, really embodied experiences, so that you can really go deep and then keep going deeper. And like just the layers that we can get through in a retreat situation is just so gorgeous. And there's really something powerful that happens in a sacred container, the bonding of the participants, as well as like being witnessed, being seen as we start to peel off the layers and leave what like be done with like what hasn't been working, and like really evolve into a more powerful, empowered, radiant version of ourselves, and to be witnessed by others in that process is a big part of the work too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love doing retreats. I have my next retreat is in Bali. I'm taking a group to Bali in November, and it's the Sing Your Soul Alive Vocal Embodiment Retreat. So everything I just described, plus, being in Bali and being in that culture, which is just so gorgeous. It's so reverent. It's so like prayerful and intentional, and the people are just so genuine. And yeah, we're going to be doing some work with the water blessings and waterfall, and really singing with the water and connecting with the sacred waters of that land. Deep breath work and all kinds of different vocal activations and toning. This one's for women, but it is for any level, like no experience necessary at all, because I really feel like if you can talk and you can say, or you can breathe, then you can sing. It's not about performance. It's not about being talented or sounding a certain way. It's about the expression, the authentic, joy that just bubbles up when you are so full, when you are so activated in all ways, through nourishment, through body, through beauty, through rest, deep rest, and self-care. So yeah, I could just go on and on about it. I'm really excited.
Well, that sounds invigorating and healing and peaceful and rejuvenating. And when is that retreat? And do you have space open?
I do have a few spaces remaining. It is November 7th through the 14th. And there is a link on my website. I think will be maybe in the show notes, or I could also send you, we can also put a link in there.
Where can someone find you? Where can they learn more about your music, or purchase your music, or learn about your upcoming retreats?
Yeah, probably the best place is going to be my website, sarahchristinemusic.com. Yeah, you'll find links to the retreat, and my music is on Spotify and Pandora and any of those, pretty much all the streaming services. Yeah, I was going to say there is another Sarah Christine out there who's also a musician floating in the world. So sometimes people find her and they're like, I don't think this sounds like you, but so yeah, if you go to my website, that's probably the most direct route. And then also there's a contact page too. If you want to send me a message or get in touch or ask questions, find out about working with me one-on-one, I'd love to. I'm here to connect, and here to be in service.
I love it.
So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I have deep gratitude for you for being my guest today. Healing begins with each of us, with our breath, with our intention, our voice, our expression. I love that part of your mission is to uplift and empower and inspire, and to remind people of who they really are, and tapping into their authentic voice. So thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you, and I hope you have a continued blessed day.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It was my pleasure, and I appreciate all the hard work that you're doing on this beautiful podcast, and just sharing resources and building community, so we can really we can uplift each other and share resources and encouragement. So thank you so much. It was really a joy and a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, we appreciate you joining us for this episode with Sarah Christine. Reclaim your voice, how sound heals. Thank you for tuning into the Current Potential podcast. If this conversation resonated, inspired your next step, or you know someone this episode can benefit, please share, subscribe, and find me on Instagram at The Current Potential for new episodes and related content, and on my website, melissacurtin.com. Until next time, be aligned, stay connected to your inner wisdom, and follow the current that supports your potential.